Okay, we're here with Alex Senk, former CFO and 2010 Democratic candidate for governor. Are you done with public office, seeking public office?
The first rule that I learned in life was never say never, and so I'm going to be open-minded in the future. No decisions have been made.
Okay, so you're open to doing something down the road.
If I believe that I can make a difference and serve, I am going to be open-minded about it.
Okay, one other person who seems open-minded is Charlie Crist, and there's noise that he would run for governor as a Democrat. Do you think, as a Democrat, would Democrats accept Charlie Crist into the party?
Well, having been a Republican most of his life, he would need to be able to convince Democrats in the state that he is a Democrat and shares the values of Democrats, and then we'll see whether then the voters will decide whether or not he's can be a good representative as a Democrat.
How about you as a Democrat? You've been the front lines of Democratic Party.
Yes.
Would you be skeptical of him, or would you be wary of him? What's your take on him personally?
Well, again, I think that he would have to look in the camera and look me in the eye and explain to me how he's had a complete transformation from being what he used to describe himself as a conservative Republican. What was the transformation and why?
Now there's a conservative Republican in office now, Rick Scott, who defeated you. Tough election, very close election.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you think you did wrong in that campaign?
Well, when it gets right down to it, when you have a 38% voter turnout in Broward County and in Palm Beach County, in other words, the Democrats weren't inspired to come and vote the way they do in presidential elections. That's something that I wish we could change, is go and find those extra 60,000 votes. I think Florida would be much better off if I had done that.
Yeah, so you think you could have worked harder to get those, or are you just saying it was a turnout issue? What's the...
Well, it was definitely a turnout issue, and I don't know that we definitely saw that coming. So maybe some more boots on the ground convincing the Democratic voters that they should have come out and cast a ballot, because look at what we have today. They can't complain about the direction of the state if they didn't go and vote. And what I hear all the time from people stopping me in the streets is, wow, this election did make a big difference. Votes do matter. Getting out to the polls and expressing your opinions, because they do have consequences, and sometimes the consequences are not pleasant.
What's your quick take on Rick Scott and his performance?
Well, I think that he's been learning on the job, and he's not representing the best interest of most Floridians. That's the feedback that I hear when I travel around the state.
What in particular? What's the...
Well, I think that he's, when they went to the legislature, I happen to believe, and one of the reasons I've formed the Florida Next Foundation, is that we have to have an economic environment which supports small businesses in our state. And over and over again, I waited for the legislature and for him to present a platform that would give businesses confidence to employ more Floridians, and I didn't hear that. And what I do hear now is that Floridians are very concerned about education in our state and the serious cuts that have been taken in the education budget. And we need to be talking in Florida about investing in our future, and the way that we spend our money to invest in putting people back to work.
You mentioned Florida Next, your foundation. What will you do with education on that score? How can you elevate that issue and get it out to the public? What's your plans for that?
Well, one of the things that we are doing at Florida Next Foundations, we're doing a lot of listening. And that's the power of the use of social media and the internet, is that we can go on our Florida Next Facebook page and pose any kind of question that we want to get feedback and to listen to what Floridians are really concerned about. I've been doing a lot of small business roundtables around the state in conjunction with chambers of commerce and other types of business groups. And we're talking about what they need. They need access to capital. They need banks to start lending money again. They need to control their healthcare expenses, for example. But every single time, without any instigation from me, they start talking about, Alex, we're really concerned about the cuts in education. And that results in us not being able to hire the right kind of talented people. And we're really worried for our children and for our public education system in this state. And we're not hearing support for public education out of Tallahassee the way we want to. And these are not, these are audiences that I couldn't tell you whether they were Democrats or Republicans in the room. I just know that they all sit around the table and they express concern for education. So we want to elevate this conversation at the Florida Next around, okay, how can we rebuild Florida's economy if we're not making adequate investments in education and expecting the kind of outcomes that we want for our kids.
Do you think when you start a foundation, it raises questions about motives and that sort of thing? Is there any political? I mean, you said you haven't decided what you're going to do next. Does this help keep you in the public sphere, so to speak? I mean, does this?
Well, one of the things it does is it enables lots of people who supported me and a lot of people who didn't necessarily support my candidacy, but who care about what's next for Florida. And I believe that there is no other organization or nonprofit group right now that is asking those hard questions about thinking ahead. Yes, we've got to worry about tomorrow and tomorrow's budget, but we've got to be thinking about what's next for Florida. How do we have so many young people, and one of the things we're going to do at Florida Next is get those under 40 young leaders who are so hungry to be involved and have a voice in our state, engaged in thinking about what kind of educational environment we want to have. What kind of businesses do we want to have here in Florida? We can't just rely on tourists coming to visit if there's a good economy in the rest of the world and the next real estate get-rich-quick bubble anymore. That was our history in the 20th century. We have got to build a new 21st century for Florida.
But again, could that be a platform for you politically as a springboard?
It could be a platform for anyone. And what I've said is that all of our work is going to be public. It'll be published. And I hope many candidates for office or people who want to get involved in public service will come and look at the work that we've done at the Florida Next Foundation and at the comments that we are hearing from everyday Floridians and lift up that work and take it and offer themselves for public service so that they can be in a position to influence policy in the state.
Barack Obama faces a pretty tough re-election. Florida is always tough, and it's going to be again this time. What do you think? What is the president done wrong? What missteps has he done? We know he's got a bad economy on his hands, but what has he done? His administration done to kind of put him in this position that he's in now, where he's facing a tough battle? I mean,
well, I think in this day and age, communication. A good example would be what I hear from many businesses and bankers in Florida is that his administration has created and developed a lot of programs through the Small Business Administration, through Ex-Im Bank financing, through the U.S. Treasury Department to try to encourage and assist and aid businesses to grow. But yet, they don't know how to find the programs or how to access the programs. And so I think that if I had one piece of advice, it would be to figure out a way to streamline these programs that are available to businesses so that they can easily be implemented and taken advantage of, because he certainly was dealt a tough hand when he came into office. And none of us dreamed that this recession would last so long. And we're just lucky that we didn't go into a global depression. So I think communication of the many good programs that have been put in place by this administration would be more helpful.
Does he bear any responsibility, though? I mean, the economy has not gotten better. The jobs are still a real bad issue after lots of billions of dollars of stimulus money. How much responsibility does he bear for the situation?
Well, I think that's hard to say. No one person can control an economy, and what an administration or government can do is assist and aid. But when you think about the foreclosure problem that we had in the state of Florida, that's not an easy problem to solve, and it's going to take a while. But I believe that the economy is getting better, and things will be looking up in the state of Florida by next year, and hopefully going forward, because we need to be able to put those 800,000 people who are out of work back to work in Florida.
How close do you think it's going to be?
The election,
Yes.
I think it's going to be very, very close. It's going to be hard fought in Florida. He's won't win by, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 points, whatever his margin was the first time around. It'll be a very tough re-election campaign, but he's not running against himself. He's running against the Republican nominee, and so voters will have an opportunity to draw a contrast between him, and I'm sure he'll be talking about his vision for the next 4 years, versus the Republican nominee. And I hope people will listen very, very carefully to the platform and the words, because they do have consequences for our future.
All right, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Alex.